Our tale of Theseus's rather unfortunate end begins not with a bang, but with a very bad decision. A decision that would lead him into the depths of the underworld, a place from which few ever return. Theseus, the great hero of Athens, had a best friend named Pirithous. They had shared many adventures, but this one would be their last. Pirithous, a king prone to daft ideas, decided he wanted Persephone, queen of the underworld, as his new wife. A foolish and dangerous desire. Theseus, ever loyal, agreed to go with him to the underworld to persuade her. They descended into the darkness, unaware of the fate that awaited them. So down they went, into the gloomy realm of Hades. The air grew colder and the light dimmer as they ventured further into the abyss. Hades, as you can imagine, was not amused. The audacity of these mortals to come into his domain with such a request. He feigned hospitality, offering them a seat on a stone bench. A seemingly kind gesture, but with a sinister twist. They sat and then couldn't get up. The bench was enchanted, binding them to it. The chair of forgetfulness, some call it. A cruel trap for those who dare to challenge the gods. There they were, stuck fast, heroes reduced to underworld fixtures. Their strength and bravery meant nothing in this cursed place. Pirithous was doomed to remain there for eternity. His ambition and recklessness had sealed his fate. Theseus, however, had a slightly different fate in store. He was not entirely forgotten by the world above. For a good long while, he too was stuck, contemplating his poor life choices. Regret and sorrow filled his days. His absence from Athens was noted. The people grew anxious, wondering what had become of their hero. A king can't just disappear without people noticing. Whispers and rumors spread through the city. But the immediate problem wasn't just a missing king, it was the chaos and uncertainty that followed, threatening to unravel the very fabric of their society. Now let's talk about these powerful brothers, the Dioscuri, sons of Zeus. Their names were Castor and Pollux. Their mother was Leda, queen of Sparta, seduced by Zeus in the form of a swan. From this union, Leda produced 2 eggs. From one egg hatched Helen and Pollux, Zeus's children. From the other egg came Castor and Clytemnestra. Castor's father was Leda's mortal husband, King Tyndareus of Sparta. Castor was a renowned horseman, Pollux famed for his boxing skills. Together they were an inseparable and formidable pair. Helen, their sister, was breathtakingly beautiful. Theseus, in his 50s, decided he simply had to have her. He abducted young Helen with the help of Pirithous. Castor and Pollux, understandably, were furious. They gathered their Spartan forces. Their quest was clear: find Helen, punish her abductor, and bring her home. While Theseus was stuck in Hades, Athens was about to face the wrath of 2 very determined brothers. The stage was set for a siege. With Theseus in the underworld, Castor and Pollux marched on Attica. They swept through the countryside, demanding the return of their sister Helen. The Athenians, leaderless and confused, didn't know what to do. The Dioscuri made it known that their quarrel was with Theseus alone, not the people of Athens. They simply wanted Helen back. This sowed division within the city. The acting leadership in Athens were in a bind. Fight the formidable Dioscuri, or capitulate and return the girl Theseus had stolen. Castor and Pollux eventually learned Helen's precise whereabouts. Aphidnae was attacked and taken. Helen was rescued, safe and sound. Theseus's mother, Aethra, was taken captive herself, made to serve as Helen's handmaiden. With Helen recovered, the Dioscuri's main objective was achieved. They had their sister back. They had humbled Athens. They departed, leaving Athens in a state of political turmoil. Meanwhile, back in the underworld, Theseus was still stuck. Until Heracles, on one of his labors, saw his old friend Theseus. He asked Hades if he could free Theseus. Hades allowed Heracles to try. Heracles, with his legendary strength, pulled Theseus free. Theseus, a little lighter in the seat of his pants, was back in the world of the living. He was ready to return to his beloved Athens and resume his kingship, or so he thought. When Theseus finally made his way back to Athens, he found a city that was not quite as he remembered. The welcome was muted. Menestheus had used Theseus's long absence to his full advantage. He had painted Theseus as a reckless adventurer, a tyrant even. Menestheus had successfully installed himself as king. Theseus, the hero who had given Athens its first taste of democracy, was now an outsider in his own city. His people no longer wanted him. Theseus was not one to give up easily. He tried to rally support. He appealed to his old friends, to the warriors who had fought alongside him. But Menestheus had done his work well. The political winds had shifted. The younger generation barely remembered Theseus's great deeds. The older generation remembered his more recent, less glorious escapades. His charisma now seemed to fall on deaf ears. His authority was gone. His family situation was also complicated. His wife, Phaedra, had died tragically. His son Hippolytus was also dead. Theseus did have other sons, Acamas and Demophon. During his underworld captivity, they had been sent away for their own safety. The hero who had once been the architect of Athenian unity now found himself a divisive figure. With a heavy heart, Theseus decided to leave Athens. The city that once celebrated him as a hero now felt like a place of sorrow and betrayal. He gathered what few loyal followers remained. These were the people who still believed in his vision and his leadership despite the recent hardships. His thoughts turned to Skyros, an island in the Aegean Sea. It was a place that held a promise of refuge and perhaps a new beginning. Theseus believed he had a claim to ancestral lands there. This belief gave him a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness that surrounded him. The king of Skyros at this time was Lycomedes, a ruler known for his wisdom and fairness, or so Theseus had heard. Theseus probably hoped that Lycomedes would welcome him. He envisioned a warm reception and a chance to rebuild his life. Perhaps Lycomedes would respect Theseus's claims to land and offer him a place to live out his days in dignity. A place where he could find peace and perhaps even regain some of his lost honor. Or even better, perhaps Lycomedes might offer him men and resources to try and reclaim Athens. The thought of returning to his beloved city with an army at his back was a tantalizing one. So Theseus set sail for Skyros. The journey was filled with anticipation and a mix of fear and hope. Upon arriving at Skyros, Theseus would have presented himself to King Lycomedes. He would have approached the palace with a sense of purpose and determination. He would have explained his situation and his ancestral claims to estates on the island. His words would have been filled with the weight of his journey and the hope for a new beginning. Lycomedes, on the surface, appeared to offer just that. His nods and gestures seemed to indicate a willingness to help. He welcomed Theseus with all the outward signs of friendship and hospitality. The palace was abuzz with activity, and Theseus was treated as an honored guest. He listened to Theseus's story. The king's eyes seemed to reflect understanding and empathy. He seemed to acknowledge the hero's plight. His expressions and words gave Theseus a sense of being heard and understood. For a brief moment, Theseus might have felt a flicker of optimism. It was a fragile hope, but in that moment, it felt real and within reach. King Lycomedes of Skyros listened to Theseus's tale. He nodded. He smiled. He offered wine and words of comfort. He promised to consider Theseus's claims to land on the island. He invited Theseus to stay in his palace to be his guest. Theseus, weary from his travels, probably felt a sense of relief. But appearances can be deceiving. Lycomedes harbored other feelings. Fear, perhaps. Theseus was still a formidable figure. Lycomedes might have worried that Theseus was planning to usurp his throne. Or perhaps it was jealousy. Theseus, even in exile, was a legend. Lycomedes began to see Theseus not as an honored guest, but as a threat. He continued his charade of friendship. And so, King Lycomedes led Theseus up to a high, precipitous cliff. The air was thick with tension, though the view was breathtaking. They stood there, perhaps admiring the panoramic view of the Aegean Sea. The waves crashed below, a symphony of nature's power and beauty. Lycomedes might have pointed out distant landmarks, engaging in casual conversation. He spoke of the lands and the sea, masking his true intentions. Then, when Theseus's back was turned, Lycomedes acted. The moment was swift and unexpected. In a moment of craven betrayal, he shoved the aging hero. The push was forceful, driven by fear and jealousy. Theseus, caught completely by surprise, stumbled. His feet scrambled for stability on the rocky edge. He scrabbled for purchase, but there was none to be had. His hands reached out, grasping at the air. With a cry, the great hero of Athens plunged from the cliff into the unforgiving sea. The water below swallowed him whole. Lycomedes, of course, would have claimed it was a terrible accident. His face, however, might have betrayed a hint of guilt. He slipped, he would have told his court. A tragic misstep. The court perhaps would have murmured in disbelief. Theseus met his end not in glorious battle, but through the cowardly act of a minor king. His fall was a stark contrast to his heroic life. His body, if recovered, was likely given a simple burial. A quiet end for a man of such great deeds. His sons, Acamas and Demophon, would eventually return to Athens and rule. Theseus's legacy is complex, filled with both triumph and tragedy. But in Athens, he is remembered primarily as their great founder, a symbol of their city's strength and enduring spirit. His story, though marred by betrayal, continues to inspire.